Basta all hits, all Pinoy. Kahit nasaan ka man ito'y mapapakinggan. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. 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 V81 Radio, V81 Radio.
O Diyos aming Ama, ang lahat ng nilalang ay marapat na sumamba sa iyo. Higit sa iyong mga biyaya, sinasamba ka namin dahil ikaw ay ikaw. Lumalapit kami sa iyo, dakilang tagapaglikha, nagsusumamo at humihingi ng kapatawaran. Kami ay nagkulang at nagkasala. Patawarin mo kami sa katigasan ng aming mga puso. Turuan mo kami at dalhin sa inyong kalooban. Tingnan mo kami ng may awa at kahabagan. Hilumin mo po ang aming bayan, ang aming mga mahal sa buhay, kaibigan, kapitbahay, karatig bayan, ganon din ang aming mga kaaway sa pandemyang kinahaharap namin sa COVID-19. Isama niyo na rin ang mga may sakit sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Panginoon, balutin mo kami ng inyong kaluwalhatian. Itago mo kami sa lilim ng inyong mga pakpak laban sa anumang kapahamakan o wala sa oras na kamatayan. Kristo, ang tinapay ng buhay, alalahanin niyo po ang mga namumuno sa aming bansa, ang mga ilaw at haligi ng bawat tahanan, at mga kawani na nagtatanggol sa aming seguridad at mga frontliners. Batid mo, Panginoon, ang mga dinaraanan at bawat ganap sa aming buhay. Espiritong Banal, aming tanggulan at gabay, imulat ang aming mga mata at ipakita si Jesus ang Panginoon at tagapagligtas, ang nag-iisang katotohanan at tanging daan tungo sa Ama. Wala nang iba. Purihin ka, O aming Diyos. Ang presensya mo ay tunay na biyaya ng aming buhay. Ito ang aming samot panalangin sa pangalan ni Jesus, Kordero ng Diyos na nag-aalis ng kasalanan ng mundo. Amen.
Walang kasing saya ang Paskong Pinoy. Dumaan man ang problema at pandemya, kayang-kayang lampasan basta't nagdadamayan at nagmamahalan.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Tuloy na tuloy pa rin ang Pasko dito sa V81 Radio Worldwide.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong Radio.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program anchors and producers and do not necessarily reflect the policies and position of this station. Samahan na natin si Atty. Jai at DJ Gaur sa pagpapaunlad ng kalusugan sa katawan, isipan at espiritual. Ito ang Gopalakas! Gopalakas! Dito lang yan sa V81 Radio Worldwide.
Gopalakas, malusog na katawan, mapayabang isipan. Gopalakas, malinis na paligid, mabuting kalooban. Gopalakas, hangad na maglingkod sa kapwa't kaibigan. Gopalakas, alagaan natin si Inang Kalikasan. Halika na totoo sa kalikasan at kapwa-tao. Isa buhay natin ito. Gopala, Gopala, sugan pangkalikasan. Gopalakas.
Yan, so nakamute pala yung aking mic. So magandang umaga sa inyong lahat and welcome back sa ating radio program. Another Saturday na naman po. So mga ka-Gopalakas, kamusta po kayo? Pakilagay na lang po dyan sa comment section. At I think you're very excited for this Saturdays. So unang-una, maraming salamat sa mga ating tagapakinig at sa mga nanonood, sa ating mga kaibigan mula sa V81 Radio, syempre kila Sir Rally Vargas, kay Sir Rolly Pagaspa, syempre sa ating CF Care, and syempre sa mga OFWs natin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, no? So syempre, kung wala kayo, syempre hindi naman posible na maging posibleng magpatuloy itong programa. So maraming salamat po sa inyo. So speaking of our show, I would like to call our co-anchor na si Atty. Jai. So, nandiyan ka na ba, Atty. Jai? Magandang umaga sa iyo.
Magandang umaga, Gaur. Magandang umaga sa ating mga tagapakinig. Thank you for tuning in so early. Ay alam
Atty.
ko...
Jai, magandang umaga.
Yes, I'm here.
Ayun.
Baka di mo marinig, Gaur. Anyway, regardless, no? It's 10 a.m. on a Saturday. Thank you to all of you who are tuned in so early. I know 10 a.m. is very early for a Saturday for you guys. Specifically, I'd like to say good morning to Mr. Matt Resurrection, Speaker Raymond Lebardo, all the way from Singapore. Amy Perez Villamor, Dixie Palmos says good morning. Good morning po. Thank you for tuning in. I'd also like to greet our listeners over at StreamYard. Nitz Lopez Capin is watching from Moncayo, Davao de Oro. Good morning po. Christine Lapore tuloy. Good morning. I'm watching in Tanawan City, Batangas. Good morning, Christine. Ananda Teves Ngos, good morning. I'd also like to greet my friend, Michael Vicente. Thank you for tuning in so early on a Saturday. Gaur, ano ba pag-uusapan natin today, Gaur?
Ayan, ipakita na natin ang ating program poster ngayong araw. Siyempre, meron din tayong makasama. I think kasama mo dyan siya sa inyo. Ayan, at meron tayong special na guest na si Doc Nash. At ang ating tatalakayin ngayong araw ay ang Right Environment, Right Association at Right Attitude. So pag ganyang usapan, syempre, kailangan natin ng kaibigan natin na magdi-discuss ng naaayon dyan. So si Doc na, syempre, anong masasabi mo dyan, Atty. Jai?
Of course, I think it's a perfect segue, no? We just finished our 3-episode series on mindful actions, a healthy alternative. And I think isa sa mga episodes na yun, we discussed how mental health is greatly affected by your environment and influenced by your environment. psychoanalysts dun sa mga studies na binasa natin during those
Yeah.
episodes, no? Sabi ng mga psychoanalysts pa, psychologists,
Psychologist.
clinical psychologists, sabi ng mga clinical
Yes.
psychologists that you can pinpoint, or they all agree that environment and genetics are the cause of mental problems. Yun lang yung dalawa na napapag-agreehan nila. The rest are mixed reviews, no? Mixed yung findings nila na dun sa mga bagay na nag-affect dun sa mental health. So right now, this episode, we will be talking about the right environment, right association, and right attitude.
Yes.
Isa sa mga dalawa, dahil wala naman tayong geneticist na kakilala, pag-usapan natin
Yeah.
ng environment. Di ba, Gaur?
Yes. So speaking of it, I think we can start na with the
Sure.
segment of Ate Chandra, right? And dyan din natin makasama si Doc na. So, wag na natin patagalin. Magsimula na tayo sa news and updates by Ate Chandra.
Ayan, magandang umaga. Maraming salamat, Gaur, DJ Gaur, and Atty. Jai. So for this morning's news, we'd like to talk about something that is celebrated around the world. No? Last September 21, which was Monday of this week, the world celebrated World Gratitude Day. Ayan, initially nagsimula ito sa taong 1965 in Hawaii when an international gathering decided that it would be a good idea to have at least one day per year to formally express gratitude and appreciation for the many wonderful things to be found in the world. Siyempre maganda na araw-araw natin itong ginagawa pero at least formally it is celebrated worldwide on September 21. So although the research into the area of gratitude is still, in many respects, in its early days, the awareness of the benefits of having time in one's life for gratitude, appreciation, and positive reflection are becoming increasingly apparent. Research specifically into gratitude and well-being has focused on 4 key areas. The first is psychological pathology. Being thankful has been shown to predict significantly lower risk of a range of diagnoses, including major depression, generalized anxiety disorder, phobia, nicotine dependence, alcohol dependence, drug abuse or dependence, and the risk of bulimia nervosa. The second aspect of well-being looked at of the research looks at the involvement of emotional functioning. Gratitude is associated with high positive affect, low negative affect, and a high satisfaction with life. A number of studies have found that gratitude is associated with subjective well-being. The third component naman daw that gratitude research has looked into is existential conceptions of gratitude. It has been found that it is linked to psychological or eudaimonic well-being. Eudaimonic means it's the sense that one's life has meaning and purpose. So a couple of research studies have linked gratitude to eudaimonic well-being. And the final area which research into the relationship between gratitude and well-being is humanistic conceptions. Gratitude is strongly and positively correlated with authentic, in quotes yun, living, and negatively correlated with self-alienation. Furthermore, it seems to strengthen relationships and contribute to relationship connection and satisfaction. So the hope of the founders of Gratitude Day is that by taking time one day a year to reflect on the many amazing things we have in our lives, it would positively impact our well-being and make us happier people. For the next segment of the next news, okay, aside from the attitude of gratitude or appreciation, another trait creating waves right now is humility. Philosopher Socrates observed that the wisest people are the first to admit how little they really know, and argued that humility is the greatest of all virtues. The great transcendental personality and teacher Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years ago, also wrote about humility in one of his famous 8 verses, emphasizing the important fact that to be able to reach the highest point, one must first be and think of himself the lowest. So science has been slow to catch up to this argument, but the last decade has offered a spate of new studies examining this trait and its effects on our thinking and reasoning. The recent focus on humility is a refreshing shift in perspective after decades of interest into self-esteem and self-confidence, which were often considered to be cure-alls for the many ills in our society. A paper published by Bradley Owens, an organizational psychologist and associate professor at Brigham Young University, examined the performance of 144 undergraduate students studying for a management course. Figuring that each individual may not be very good at assessing their own humility, Owens asked the participants to rate each other on statements such as, "This person actively seeks feedback, even if it is critical," or "This person admits it when they don't know how to do something," and "This person acknowledges when others have more knowledge and skills than him or herself." He then tracked various measures of their performance over the course of the year, and the results were striking, with the students rated humblest achieving better grades than those who were considered to have more inflated opinions of themselves. Indeed, the humility ratings proved to be a better predictor of performance than measures of performance than measures of actual intelligence. Humility was particularly important for some of the less gifted students, almost completely compensating for their lack of natural intelligence and allowing them to perform as well as people with much higher IQ scores. So the reason for this advantage was apparent when Owens and his colleagues looked more carefully at the students' trajectories across the term. The people with the greatest humility may not have started out the strongest, but by acknowledging the gaps in their knowledge or skill sets and then correcting them, they made the greatest improvements over the course. The less humble students were more likely to plateau. So overall, the humbler students were just more teachable than the less humble students, irrespective of their actual IQ. Besides these individual benefits, the recent research shows that a leader's humility can also have important knock-on effects for their team members. In a survey of more than 700 employees at a U.S. health services provider, Owens found that humbler leaders cultivated greater work engagement and job satisfaction among their employees. His later research suggests that the leader's humility improves the communication among team members, because not only does that give the employees the confidence to disagree with decisions, but the fact that the leader is willing to admit their own limits encourage the team members to also admit their own flaws, all of which create a more honest and constructive workplace. Amy at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University has found similar benefits in a study of 105 technology companies. Using surveys similar to Owen, she found that humbler CEOs encourage greater collaboration, information sharing among the firm's top management team, and this improved decision-making, of course, resulted in greater overall profits. So despite these benefits, some leaders still may be fearing that expressing humility could undermine their authority. But the latest research on humility published earlier this year by Irina Kojuharenko at the University of Surrey suggests that this need not be an issue, provided you go about it in the right way. Participants seem to appreciate the leader's genuine desire for more information and respected their humility, even if the belief in their leader's technical competence had been shaken. Their overall trust of the leader remained unchanged. So according to scientists, true humility is when someone has an accurate assessment of both his strengths and weaknesses, and he sees all this in the context of the larger whole. He's a part of something far greater than he. He knows he isn't the center of the universe and is not in control, and he's both grounded and liberated by this knowledge. So that's it for the news segment. And next up on this show is someone who is genuinely one of the humblest and most grounded people I know. I have known this guy since childhood, and I would not have imagined then what he is or what he is doing or achieving right now. He is a lifelong vegetarian and yoga practitioner, a doctor of medicine and licensed physical therapist, as well as a medical acupuncturist assistant. He served at the Air Force as a flight surgeon and medical officer for 7 years under the Philippine Air Force Medical Corps veteran. He was a first responder during Typhoon Yolanda. He was chief medical officer during the isolation of repatriated Philippine contingent from Liberia for 21 days at Caballo Island. He was also deployed for 1 year to Haiti as part of the UN's Philippine contingent, which was comprised of 130 soldiers. And he served as executive officer at Edwin Andrews Air Base Hospital for 2 years, which included almost daily air evacuation flights to and from Basilan or Jolo. He continues in his service to the community as a volunteer of CIFCare and a frontliner for the provincial government of La Union. Let us welcome to this show, Doc Nash Tamayo.
Good morning, Ma'am Chandra. Thank you for that introduction.
Good morning.
You-
Ma'am talaga, I just told them I know you from childhood.
Medyo sumobra ata yung ano. But thank you very much. Thank you for all the listeners. And may magpapa-shoutout sana. Pwede ba magbati sa
Yes,
air?
of
Okay lang.
course.
Si Sergeant Enrile from Edwin Andrews Air Base sa Zamboanga nagpapa-shoutout. So, complied na po. Tsaka from Iloilo, si Dr. Almar Bantolo. He's a close friend. He's an orthopedic surgeon. And here in Villamor, si Dr. De Lasso, si Dots. Ayan, nabatin. And my mom. Of course, patay.
Of course. Hindi pwedeng maiwan yon.
Right. Okay.
Well, so we're so happy. I'm so happy to have you on the show. But before we proceed to the questions that we have for you, Doc Nash, I'd like to call on also our usual guest for this part also is Tito Toby Tamayo.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Hi, Tito Toby. We can't seem to hear you, Tito Toby. Oh, okay. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be audio from La Union right now.
How's that now?
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Kasi our net is kind of flaky right now. So, okay, let's maximize the time. Sometimes it'll,
Okay.
our system will go down. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat, sa ating mga tagapakinig. It's been quite some time now, na ating mga nakikinig at nanonood. You have been supporting us, and I want to thank everybody for that. And being like a public service program, we want to make sure that everybody is given an opportunity. If you have questions to ask, just send it to us, Sige, magandang umaga ulit sa inyong lahat. Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Ayan. Morning. Salamat, Tito Toby. And like Tito Toby said, if you have any questions, specifically also for Doc Nash, you can type them out in the comments section and we'll make sure to answer them. So let's start first off, Doc Nash, about telling the viewers or our listeners about yourself and your experience being on the front lines for, I don't know, more than a decade now, yeah?
Yeah, maybe a decade. Can we show our prepared photos so we can get the ball rolling? Okay, before I start, I'd like to take this opportunity to greet my friends from the 505th. Actually, the chopper behind me may be the one that crashed last week. So in honor to the fellow people I worked with before who sacrificed their lives, let's just remember them and the sacrifices they made. And I think the Philippine Air Force is also always, like right now, they're remembering our fellow soldiers who crashed. And with the motto that they have, that's the others may live. Yan po yung motto sa 505th sa Villamar when you go in. So it says a lot, the nature of the work of these frontline soldiers. Yeah. So, so just to clarify, I left the military service about 2 years ago. But
Okay.
the experience there has taught me a lot. I've also worked with different kinds of leaderships there, civilian and military, and I learned a lot, and I'm still learning. So, yes. Next picture, can we see? Okay, so this is a typical day's work for these guys. We fly to Basilan, and This is a shot I took from the airport. So we did a lot of these things, rescuing soldiers and to and fro to Zamboanga.
And you did this for 2 years, no, Doc?
Yeah, we did that for 2 years. Parang daily work na lang po yan. And well, it always reminded us, like before we'd fly, we'd always pray as a group, just to remind us that life is we're not in control. We are in the mercy of whatever fate has for us. So we'd always pray before we fly, and I think that really helped us prepare for the flight. So yeah,
Oh, it's a view from the chopper.
yeah. So sometimes it gets really crowded up there. Minsan, tatlo pa nga yan, nakaupo. But yeah, we make do with what we have. Okay. Yeah, this is in Haiti, and I was deployed in Haiti for a year. Actually, the story of this was I read an article in the UK where a little boy, a 5-year-old boy, was able to rescue his father because they had a CPR class in their school. So since he was a 5-year-old, well, syempre he's small, no? So he used a mop and he pumped his father and nabuhay niya. So
Wow.
I told my CEO, sir, may idea ako, magturo tayo ng CPR sa mga bata dito. Kasi when we were there, yung commander namin, masipag talaga mag-medical missions at least twice a month. So we were quite busy there. So we gave a class to ito, mga nursery, elementary students, and it was really fun. I mean, they didn't speak English, but somehow we managed to teach them about it, and it was really interesting.
How old yan? What is the age there, Doc Nash, of those who attended
Some
your
of
who you
those were
taught?
like 4 years old.
Wow.
Pwede, yeah,
Oh.
pwede, 4 years old. So we can actually teach our kids how to be rescuers themselves. No? Maybe that could be an added program to our in our schools. We could start that.
Yeah, it would be good to have that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so let's pause muna. Let's talk more about what maybe Sir Toby has something to say.
Yeah, this is like sa panahon today, like now we see many of also our frontliners, we cannot thank them enough,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, to honor their service. But alam nyo, by nature tayo, as humans, you know, we have by nature, if we render service to others, right? Parang this makes us happy. This gives a deeper meaning to why we exist. You know, kadalasan kasi many times we tend to overlook and oversee some of the sacrifices of many soldiers and policemen
Yes.
and all those who are in government and non-government organization who are pursuing, helping, try to make it so the impact of the pandemic is less in other people's lives. But we also have to consider that the country being, we have quite a big population, and the ratio of our volunteers and health officers compared to the dami ng tao na we need to service, malaki yung differences, malaking malaki. And so that means it taxes everybody. It puts a lot of pressure, on people in general who are acting as making sure that everything we need to do is implemented on the ground.
Yes, sir.
Kaya nga to the point where maraming mga bagay na overlook. Nung nakita ko yung picture mo sa helicopter, naalala ko ng kabataan namin. I grew up in an Air Force family, and I know during the times of need, pag may mga sakuna, o kaya may insurgency issues sa mga iba-ibang lugar sa ating bansa, with limited resources and equipment, and even when you say yung maintenance itong equipment, kung di lang magaling ang mga Pilipino talaga na gumagawa ng paraan,
Yeah.
yung mga helicopter natin hindi na lumilipad na dapat yan. Kasi sa ibang bansa, there's a certain number of flights, hours of flights, then they can make sure that the aircraft is not to be used anymore.
Yeah.
But dito sa atin, we cannot afford that, And yet, work and saving people's life is always going to take place. And the risk for the pilots, for the health officers, the medics is always going to be there.
Yeah.
May mga kasabihan nga minsan parang ano yan flying coffins minsan yung sinasakyan nyo, or widowmakers ang sinasab, ibang pananalita, Such aircrafts with all its limited maintenance, still service will be sustained. And the fact that, we know the risk that everybody is facing, but just to save lives, nalilimutan natin yun.
Yeah.
Minsan ito yung biyaya na ibinibigay sa atin. Ito yung mga unconditional na pagmamahal. No matter how risky, you go for it, and you offer your life so that others may live. This is so appreciated sa mga tao na katulad mo, Doc Nash, and those who are in the front lines of the pandemic. We can't thank you all enough. Minsan na under, yung mga military personnel, alam natin, mga Coast Guard, everybody is so involved in so many facets of contributing to the management of this pandemic. Many of the uniformed services are very much part of this. From the Air Force to the Coast Guards to the Army,
Yes, sir.
Diba? Nababasa natin palagi, nakikita natin sa news pagdating sa mga those who want to leave, yung na-stranded sa Manila, they all go to the camps and being looked after by our armed services personnel. So maraming pong salamat sa inyong lahat. So more power to you and keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. Yeah, actually, sir, I agree with you. The frontliners, the doctors, the ratio actually ideally is 1 doctor per 20,000 people in the Philippines. Can you imagine that number? That's even a crazy number. But even then, we are unable to meet that number with the ratio. It's like 1:80,000. Ang laki ng discrepancy. And yet, that's the reality of our healthcare. Medyo kulang talaga. So there's a big push by the government to hopefully we can make more doctors. But yeah, to the other doctors in the front line who knowingly enter that dangerous situation, it's like a duty. It's like fireman going to the fire. I mean, he doesn't want to go into the fire, but he has to do it. So same with our doctors.
Right.
Knowingly enter like a COVID ward or a TB ward. It's a whole mental state that, sometimes you just have to do it.
Alam niyo yung sinasabi mo na yan, it brings to mind let's say if we hear about health workers and frontline volunteers who have died in this pursuit of making it so that people are protected from the COVID. And those who get sick and get well, wala silang bakasyon. We know many doctors this way. Pagkagaling na nila, they already go back to the front line.
I think nawala si Tito Toby.
I think we could, that's like my idol, Doc Ted, no? Pagkatapos ng COVID, balik frontline. Actually, even other doctors I know also, like my former CEO, Colonel Romero, same thing. And that's just the way it is. There's just not enough doctors in the front line. So, yeah. Let's see our next picture, Ma'am Chandra. Let's see what.
Let's put that up. You in your full PPE.
Yeah, this is in Haiti. We did a lot of medical missions there. It was really fun. It almost feels like the same as yung sa Philippines, because the people there are very humble, very simple people. And very, very kawawa sila. Hirap ng buhay ng tao dun. Actually, when we went there, it was a wake-up call for a lot of us. Kasi, in our country, kala natin hirap na hirap tayo.
Yes, correct.
No, you go there, you realize, oh my God. So I told my tropa, magreklamo pa ba kayo? Okay pala. So ang Pinoy sa Haiti, actually mga nakikinig ngayon. So greetings sa mga Philcom sa Haiti. Kumuye. Yan. They're actually well off there. They're middle class citizens. And they love the Filipinos there because we work really well. We work really well with other people. And we do many things at the same time. Kumbaga, we're we can do, what do you call that? you do a lot of things.
Multitask.
Multitasker. Yeah.
Yeah.
So magaling ang Pinoy sa ibang bansa. It took me to leave the country to realize that how good, even in the UN, they really like the Filipino workers. Kasi ang galing
Oh.
natin. Socially, our culture, tapos we're very friendly, tapos we're very pleasing to, tapos our English is very good. Kaya, so yun lang naman.
That's so nice to know, Doc National. Kasi nga,
Yeah.
sometimes we don't see what we have, or
Yeah.
we're not aware of what we actually have in. Like we
Yeah.
talked about, kanina sa news, not grateful for them, but then you see other people's conditions, and your eyes are opened, like you said.
People
Ang galing.
there, sometimes once a day lang kumain. That's how poor things are there. So yeah. So it's a very good eye-opening experience. No?
Okay.
Oh, we have a question, Ma'am Chandra, from Alex. Hi, Alex. See, other than emergency procedures like CPR that allow more people to be rescuers, what else do you believe should be taught or reinforced in our classrooms? Okay. Marami. Actually, we can do a lot to teach our kids, no? Which I think we'll be doing also in our projects in La Union. Hopefully, we can teach about proper diet, proper eating. You'll be surprised the kind of food that is available in the cafeterias in our public schools. It's all the piso-piso, tawag nilang piso-piso foods, chichirya, soft drinks.
Okay.
Apparently, it's even cheaper to buy soft drinks and water. So
Yes.
I think
Surprisingly.
number one should always be the diet. No? I think if we can actually teach the teachers to teach the kids how to eat properly and diet, we could solve a lot of problems that is happening, the health problems, no? Malnutrition and all. So CPR, even teaching the kids how to treat wounds, because they're always playing, they're always falling, how to wash the wound, how to, hand washing or washing with water is actually such an amazing practice. Besides it, the moment you wash and you clean the wound properly, it already reduces the bacteria count by about 90-something%. So it's even better than putting cream. So as soon as you get wounded, you clean it right away, then you cover it. A lot of times, even the body can.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot. Maybe we could even do a whole topic on that. We don't have enough time for that. But yeah, there's so much we can do for our classrooms to teach our children. Okay, I hope that answers. Can we see the next picture?
Do that nowadays, because of the online component of education right now.
Yeah,
Right.
pwede rin. Actually, pwede. Maganda na ngayon. We have this like these online classes now. It's very personal na. A lot of times, I think, I don't know, you ever been to a public school before? Because I grew up in the public school. So I know where there's like 50 of us in the classroom and the teachers don't even know. Naalala ng teacher, yung mga medyo pogi, maganda, talented, pero yung mga ordinary student like me, we're just in the background. So, yeah. Okay, so the picture we're seeing is in Haiti also. I was able to work with the Medicina Sans Frontiers, the Doctors Without Borders. Yeah, that was really fun working with them. And I realized ko din na kaya pala sabayan ng Pinoy yung mga malalaking medical groups. No? So we had fun here. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sir, come back, sir.
Anyway, our signal is not good today. So anyway, there were other things that I wanted to share with you simply because being in the front line of rescuing people, and I heard that you were also in Yolanda, one of the first doctors on the ground,
Yes,
and knowing full well how risky everything is, and you're still there.
yes.
Now, alalahanin nyo sa ating mga tagapakinig and many of those who are following us and in our society in general, the issue is right now this pandemic doesn't have the structural damage. Ito isang digmaan na hindi mo makikita yung structural damage katulad ng Marawi siege, di ba? May ganyan yan eh. So basically, hindi natin madama yung ibang how the impact of this could be, and that now people are losing their jobs children are unable to go to schools and see their friends and raise them in another way of sa society and normal upbringing ng tao, di ba? Ng mga bata. So we have all of these issues. But yet, I want to make it so that our listeners to understand that we are just in the 7th month or the entering 8th month of this pandemic in the country. And there is no clear clarity on how long this will be. Kaya nga, kumbaga, if we can do all our part as far as making it so that we contributed to make it so that our health workers are not given more stress, and we should do our part. Yung ini-explain mo nga kanina. In as much as you go to other countries to help others, Africa is one of those places, but in the Philippines, we have very much grave and similar issues. So what can you say about this? Do you have anything? Because I know the Yolanda experience was something, and then I saw that you were featured even in the international news delivering a baby, in the middle of this disaster zone.
Yes, sir. A little backstory, sir, just to humanize me a bit. Actually, I didn't want to go there. I was from duty in Villamor, straight duty. Patapos na po yung duty ko. Biglang sabi ng senior ko, Nash, puta kang Yolanda doon ka sa Tacloban. Sabi ko, ma'am, why naman? From duty na ako. Alang naman yung senior natin, padala natin. Sabi ko, I was thinking, ma'am, kasi wala akong damit. So she threw me her car keys, go home to Cavite, get your clothes. So I went home and got my clothes. So that's the thing, when you're in a position, you sometimes you don't even want to be, but you end up being there. It was actually a great opportunity for me, and I learned so much. But sometimes the process of getting to that situation, it's like there's a lot of resistance personally and outside. But when I was there, I had so much fun. I could talk about Yolanda for a long time, but it was a really, really amazing experience for me. And as much as people give me all these accolades after, sometimes I feel guilty because I wanted to go home, see my family, but I was the one who was pushed to that position. And actually, most of the time, it's always been like that. Sometimes there's an opportunity to help, and we sort of kind of want to take a step back and rather get comfortable. But the moment you take that opportunity, just one step towards it, it's an amazing experience. It's highly rewarding. It's afterwards, when I was going home after that whole mission, I just wanted to cry because I just felt so good after. I had my doctored moments, as I'd call, because these are the things he's into. I mean, he goes for these things, and I wish someday I'll be like him, and I look up to him. So
when stories like this, because it's important sa mga buhay ng tao, sa atin para sa ating mga nakikinig, ang importante alam niya sa mga sitwasyon na ganito, you bring out the best of people.
Yes.
This is where you grow. Kumbaga, pahinugan yan yung experience na ganyan. Kaya, katulad ngayon, may hinarap tayong pandemya. Nakikita natin na those who thrive in such stressful setting, it matures them fully. It changes them as people. Nagbabago ang anyo ng mga tao. And that's why opportunities like this, just as was being read earlier, yung humbleness ng tao to be able to perform and do what you need to do. And that trait is so important in every person's life. You see, when you put yourself in such a setting, you pray. Kumbaga, you ask for guidance, you ask for assistance in so many ways internally. Because you see that you're not in control.
Yes.
You learn to make yourself you just pray so that I can be an instrument in saving people's lives. And if marami sa atin, sana, would recognize this, not just being there for your own personal gain, but actually looking at everybody else, your neighbors, your community, your country. What can I do? It doesn't have to be so big.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so, there's risk in life. But yet, if you give your best and you see, understanding this full nature of humbleness and receiving this grace and trait, makes a difference in many people's lives. Marami po hong pandemya ang padating sa ating buhay. Hindi lang iisa. Kahit ngayon, kunyari, naka-experience ka na sa ganito. Kung may maliliit o mga pandemya na pumapasok sa ating buhay na pang-araw-araw, parang madali na natin maibsan. Or it's easy for us to address it. We've seen a worse scenario, yet we made out of, kumbaga, we went out of it very nicely. And at the end of the day, nakatulong tayo sa tao. Yan ang pinaka-importante.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Tito Toby. Doc Nash, what can you say about that also?
Well, it's already been said, right? Yeah.
So no, siguro,
Yeah, like
go ahead.
yeah, I'm just like everybody else, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time when I was like, if you join the service, if you become a volunteer, you're gonna end up in a position. You just have to volunteer for it, and the position will be given to you. So like Caballo Island, for example, another one. I didn't really want to go there either because most junior, kaya tapon eh. But that was also a really good experience because what happened there was like our troops from Liberia were recalled because of the Ebola outbreak. So, syempre, Ebola yan eh. That's not like COVID na hihingain mo lang Ebola kahit pawis, you can actually, and it's highly, highly lethal. So it was a lot of experience because all those agencies in the government were involved, pero even they themselves were not really sure how to handle it. So when we were thrown to Caballo Island, I was the head of the medical team, and there was two teams. There's a police and kami. But nung first night pa lang namin dun, meron kaming case na mukhang Ebola, and I had to jump in. I didn't want to, but I had to because I was leading the team, and I felt like I had to be the one because nobody else is gonna do it, right? Because everyone's like, "Oh, okay, yeah." I just wore my suit, and while I was on my way there, kasi the camp was medyo malayo, so I was riding this moped, all-terrain vehicle. So I was just praying na lang, Lord, kung bahala na, sige, ikaw nang bahala sa akin. So when we got there, nalipad naman namin. So maganda yung Caballo Island. If you guys don't know what Caballo Island is, it's in front of Corregidor. And it's a really very historical place. And I was able to experience all kinds of evacuation. So that's experience going chopper, by land, by speedboat, nagawa namin in the middle of the night, meron kami in the back. So it was a really good experience. And I was able to work with a lot of very critical people in the government, like Ma'am Garin was the head of the DOH that time, and it was interesting. Learned a lot. Yeah. Okay, next picture. Hi, Doc Ted is online. Doc, welcome. This is Yolanda. This is yeah. So we were the first ones there, no? So as soon as I got my stuff from Silang, we boarded the plane. I was still sleepy from duty, and when we landed there, this is the first thing we saw, and it was like a bomb hit the place, literally. I mean, I've seen pictures of atomic bombs. This is exactly what it felt like. And you see that white tower there, the air tower. You see it? Can you still hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can see it. Yeah.
When we went down, when we disembarked, when we saw that tower, we could see the water level. It was so high. It was like almost 2 stories high. That's how high the water that came in. I was like, oh my God. Then as soon as we landed, people were coming to us. Parang I was watching an episode from Walking Dead. Not to, I'm sorry, but I was like, that's how it looked like. They're like walking. Dami. So my very first patient I could never forget was this guy had his elbow. It was open like that. And it looked like the tendon. I was like, oh, it's a tendon. Okay, we'll just cover it. But when I held it, it was so hard. It was it was really hard, like a plywood. So true enough, it was a wood, this thing, just lodged in like that, straight. So that was my first patient, and we had so many. It was a very, very sad and sad day because we heard all kinds of stories as the patients came in droves, and we actually didn't have enough equipment. Also, we ran out, so we were sometimes reusing the same thread just to suture. So what was meant for one use, we had to cut it up to 5 because we went the right way, so we didn't expect it to be that many. Although after a day or two, dumating naman yung ibang equipment. Pero yeah, we really had to make do. We were giving out yung IV fluids. Have you ever drank IV fluids? Have you ever tasted it?
Never.
It's actually not so bad. It tastes like buko juice with salt. So there was no water, so we were giving it out. So yeah, especially
Okay.
the children and the pregnant. Yeah, so yeah, I'll never forget Yolanda.
I've undergone so many interesting experiences, no, Doc Nash, that
Yeah.
not everybody gets to experience. And so,
Yeah, I
how
was
do you keep?
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I was very fortunate enough. And sometimes I actually miss the military service. Sometimes I want to go back. Just I miss that rush also, especially if that flying to Zamboanga and Basilan and Hulo, the island, seeing the water and just then landing and pick. Anyway, it's a rush. It's a whole new. I can't describe it, but it's a really good feeling also. Yeah, but I was lucky. Actually, all the doctors in the Air Force all have the same experiences. So for you, it's an amazing, but for them, they're probably laughing at me like they're probably, oh my god, that's just our work. Well, what are we-" But yeah, I have to
Day to
share
day.
it. Yeah, because you know, it's for us, it's work. But when something happens, like it crashes, like my friend passed away the other day. No, but that was COVID. But like my friends from that chopper, that you know, they do it every day. But you know, unfortunately, tragedy happens, and then you realize the gravity of the work they're doing, that the risks involved. It's the same with police and soldiers. You know, yeah, they get paid day-to-day work, patrolling. But when something happens, an encounter, then you realize how important and how heavy the work actually is, especially for the loved ones that they've lost. We can't even imagine that the kind of pain. Yeah? But that's the risk. That's the nature of the work. That's just part of the work. But you know, so we respect and salute.
This is
Yeah.
life in the front lines, basically. A
Yes.
daily routine of life in the front lines. You know, I can empathize with what you have been going through and these experiences. And yes, it's something that is treasured. Ngayon, dito sa atin, we don't have to be in Doc Nash's position all the time. Even amongst ourselves, family members, or in the community, hindi natin kailangan i-risk yung sarili natin. Pero marami na tayo pwedeng itulong sa ibang tao. Ngayon,
Yes.
na humahaba na yung panahon ng pandemya, and it will prolong itself some more. So we could see now that there are many individuals of being affected by this in so many degrees, in so many ways, especially the younger people. You know, the generation that kind of had a bit of parang mas maginhawa ang buhay nila. You know, things are easily have or madali nilang makuha yung gusto nila. Maraming ganyan eh. So ngayon, nakikita natin during this pandemia, now they're the ones having difficulties. So what we all can do as a community, as a people, friends, you know, parents, cousins, neighbors, is to tingnan natin yung, alam nyo, build on more friendships today, especially for those we know who are having a difficult time. Friendship helps. Di ba? The past 3 episodes, we were talking about mental health. And tingnan nyo, you know, it's so important na kung meron kang nakakausap o meron kang support group, sa kanila, experience ni Doc Nash, it's obvious, you know, the bonding becomes something that stays together for a long time, especially being in the front line and experiencing the different stressful situation, helping people's lives and risking their own lives at the same time. And nakikita natin na that bonding of brotherhood, or, you know, the people you work with, becomes so strong kasi you support one another. No matter how stressful it may be, at saka risky it may be, hindi pa rin tayo, hindi, kumbaga, you don't forget your bonds. You still help one another and assist one during a time when you have to provide rescue or, you know, assisting others.
Yes. Actually, sir, that's why I also, yeah, I left the service for that reason. I'm not saying anything that I left for bad reasons. No, I just want to try something else. Like, there's so much more to do outside, to be honest. The doctor to ratio in the armed forces is much better compared to outside. Sa labas, wala talaga. I was in my dad's farm a few years back, and I just went, I walked around the river, and naka-mission ako just like that. And there are no doctors in this far-flung area. So that's why I also joined the CIF Care, because I want to be more involved outside. Although as romantic as it may sound, the choppers, the war zone, whatever, but the same thing is outside, in the civilian part of life. The same problem and the same challenges also there. So it's just not as glamorous, but it's the same importance also. So which I'll be doing also. Hopefully, I'm applying for the local government of London. Hopefully, makuha ko, which will happen soon. And then we can do more work with Sir Toby and Socorro there in La Union.
Well, thank you so much, Doc Nash, for talking about all your experiences and sharing all of this. We have one last question. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but we have one last question for you from the audience, and he is asking, please share your technique. How do you manage when you're faced with situations of strong stress and you feel the pain and sorrow of your community during these experiences?
Come again? That's a long question.
How do you manage? Basically, what keeps you going? I mean,
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, in every stressful situation, whether it be a loss or the pressure of work or the stress of work or being away from family, loneliness, being deployed, yeah, there's really nowhere else to go but meditation and prayer, which is something you'll be surprised, most soldiers are actually very, very always praying, because of the nature of the work. They're always reminded that anything can happen. Kahit ano ka pa, kahit anong ranko mo, once you're there, anything can happen. Life is not in your control. So we have to pray. We have to pray. We're always praying before we fly, after we fly, before a mission, after a mission. And I do a lot of meditation, especially during deployment. So kahit na ba 1 year na hindi kasama pamilya, I just really did a lot of meditation and prayers. And that really helped me push through. And even with my patients, I'm also an acupuncturist. So like I always felt that, not to belittle to the current medicine, but it can only go so much. I mean, it's treating symptoms and physical problems, but sometimes the problem's an emotional one. So how do you treat an emotional problem? So I was happy to discover acupuncture somehow, because acupuncture aims to treat emotions. So it partially helped, but it doesn't completely solve the problem, because you're not solving the problem at the root. So what else can you do? So that's where meditation and healing sound completed the circle of my being a doctor. So I'm able to treat physically, emotionally, and I guess you can say mentally and spiritually. And true enough, it really works. I've actually had patients, I was able to wean from antidepressant drugs because of meditation and acupuncture and whatever drugs they're taking, and wean off namin sila. So, which is what we're doing in this program, right? We're teaching meditation, especially in the last part. So, yeah, I've always encouraged it, and it's made me a better person, a better doctor as well. And it's fulfilling as a doctor to be able to have all these weapons, as I would say, because
tools.
Sometimes you're limited by your pills, right? They can only do so much. So the problem is a mental problem. It's stress. It's emotion. How do you treat suicidal tendencies? How do you treat a breakup? So a loss. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Doc Nash. What you just said, that the last part actually encapsulates what we're trying to do with the show.
Is there any more? Chandra, is there any more questions that we probably may entertain? There's.
Are we going to take more time, Tito Toby?
Yeah, I
with Doc
think
Nash?
so. Because we're in and out here, we might as well have maximized on his presence. And kasi experiencing isang buhay ng tao yan napaka-importante. It's always very important. For the past many episodes, we've always been dealing with statistics and science thing, but such you hear it from this type of real life experiences that people go through. And that I cannot emphasize enough, yung importance and recognizing the people who are performing their duties,
Yeah.
Importante talaga yan. Kaya, I think let's continue on. Let's continue on. Maybe give a few more minutes if there are any other questions to be asked.
Well, you did mention duty to Totobi, no? And I think that's a huge factor. That's one of the things that Doc Nash, you wanted to, you already mentioned earlier, but you may want to talk about a little more. I think you have more slides, right? More photos to show?
Let's see what the pictures where it will bring us. Let's see. Oh, this is the last picture, yeah?
The one in PPE, that was there. I saw
Yeah, job like no other. Did you know if the chopper is like this, if you're riding it, you're not going to fall off? That's how this picture is. The chopper's already like this. And I'm not falling off. I took a picture. Just trivia.
I'll try that the next time I'm on a chopper.
Actually, you won't fall off if it's like that. As long as it's turning, you're not gonna fall, and you can see the ground. Yeah. So sometimes, like when we go to Basilan, we'd fly really low, just so that hindi malaman kung saan nanggagaling yung sound. And it's during those times when I'm really holding I always travel with my prayer beads, especially when it's like really hot zones. So I was just praying lang, and just that's what really got me through that amazing situation. Also, yeah.
Okay. Doc Nash, of course, there's you mentioned your prayer, your internal motivation of doing your duty, just going to it, no choice, it's me, and there's no one else to do it, diba? But are there other factors to that, like other external factors that also help you or that keep you going? Like, for example, your teachers or
Inspiration.
Maybe I can add to a few more things because I just want to. There's another picture to what he's sharing because right now it's he's going through all of these difficulties. But
I think we lost Tito Toby. Yes. Unfortunately, the internet in La Union is not so good today. I just like to inform all our viewers that they've been in and out since our rehearsal this morning, but they'll keep coming back on. So you want to continue in that line of thought na lang, Doc Nash?
What was the line of thought again? Anyway, I just want to I wanted to like Yolanda, I want to just bring this up. It's important. So when we were there, people think during a calamity they always food, water, shelter, right? If I were to you, what would you prepare for your calamity? What would you prefer, Ma'am Chandra?
Exactly. Food and water.
Yeah.
And where?
You're right. But security never comes in.
True.
Right? We forget security. And Yolanda taught me security is number one. Because at that time, during calamities or whatever, there will always be bad elements. So you got to be prepared also, security-wise. So I won't go to details with that. Bahala na kayo mag-interpret because I cannot. But make sure your security is intact. And that's very important. You can have the food, the water. But if your security is not right, you're going to lose everything and maybe even more. And which was happening in also Yolanda. After 3 days, a lot of crazy stuff was going on. As a matter of fact, we had a common friend there who I was able to actually walk in and I found their house and I was able to evacuate them from there. You remember?
Yes, I remember. And you want to talk about that. But before that, maybe I wanted to ask, because of course you say, interpret security, bahala na kami. But for example, an ordinary citizen, I mean, like what's like basic, or at least what we have? Alam mo yun?
Okay, hirap naman ang question. Basta security-wise, you gotta get together. I don't care if you use bolo or what. Just make sure your security is intact. Yeah. Firearms? I don't know. Yeah, but we are Gopalakas, right? From Kalusugan. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about these things. Although I'm a former military person, I would encourage and knowing how to use basic, because the times now we don't really know. and sometimes it's better to have it and not need it, and but not have it. Yes.
True. Okay.
So
All right.
women empowerment, diba? Learn how to use. You gotta be able to defend yourselves.
And Doc Nash, you talked about, of course, how you were coping. All right. What about your family? I know you, of course, you have
Yeah.
your 3 sons and your wife. How were they able also to cope during these times that?
Yeah, actually, you cannot perform in the front unless your back is stable and secure. I'm lucky enough, Nax. I'm lucky enough that my wife Nimay was able to keep the fort together. And that is important because sometimes, like mga sundalo, karamihan, di may iwasan, they perform well in front, but in the back, their family is falling apart. So you gotta balance these things. And well, after 7 years in the service, I felt since my sons were growing, they might need a father figure. So I figured since I'm a doctor, I can always be of need of help wherever I am. So whether I'm military outside, makakatulong pa rin ako. So I decided to make time with family and continue this service outside, which hopefully I'll be doing. Yeah, but definitely, yeah, the mother is important. Yeah.
Behind every great man, everybody knows that saying, Dao.
Kung ano yung ranko mo, yung ranko niya, ang mas mataas palagi, di ba? Happy wife. Happy life. Anyway, yeah. So, we have another question. Any tips for those people who may be suffering from acute mental disorders and who are at the point of doing something drastic, acting? Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, I have some doctor friends watching right now who are psych people. I always, I like to use whatever available, whatever is available. We maximize everything. So if you want to see a mental health specialist, go. But if you want to try other things like acupuncture, go. If you want to try yoga, exercise, go. If you want to do meditation, then you go. Or if you want to just do prayers, go to church more. If you're a Muslim, pray more in your mosque, go. So whatever copes, do everything you can. And you need to talk to somebody. You need to be able to, you need somebody to help you in this process. So for mental disorders, for me, I would always say still healing sound meditation. What we're doing. It's ano because it's like element works with element. For example, if I have an anatomical problem, it's a chemical problem, then the chemical will also work on it, right? But if it's a subtle problem, it's a mental, it's not physical, then obviously these things are not really going to help. They might cover it, they might make you dull, they might make you sleep more, but the problem is still there. So you need something that exists in another element to fix that element. So these healing sounds have been practiced for a very long time, and they've been very, very helpful. And I always encourage it to my patients to do healing sound meditation or do prayers, whatever works. But you always seek help from a higher plane. So yeah, for mental disorders, well, it depends what kind of mental disorder, right? If it's schizophrenia, medyo mahirap because you're seeing people and it's real. They are actually seeing these things or hearing the sounds. So it's a very challenging situation for them. It might be a lifelong process, but I would still believe that healing sound will definitely help them. And reducing the amount of exposure to other stuff, like whatever you expose your senses to will actually aggravate your situation, like too much TV or whatever, radio or music. These things actually just agitate your senses. So for mental patients, you gotta simplify even the food. Some foods actually make it worse for these patients. So it's a holistic approach. You can't just be like just pills or just diet. You gotta do everything, and it takes the whole family as well. You gotta include your family members. You need that family support. Yeah. Another
So,
question. Another question.
Is there-
Masipag magtanong tong masipag mag-question to eh. Practical tips on getting out of anxiety attacks, mental breakdowns that are already happening. You know, when you do meditation, there are three things happening. I may recall. I think three things. Okay, first, you're taking your focus away from the problem, and you're focusing on the sound, right? Like Goranga, right? So that is already one. You're taking your, and then you're doing deep breathing exercises, right? When you do deep breathing, science has shown by doing deep abdominal breathing, you're actually reducing all these stress hormones, the anxiety, whatever is causing it's actually being reduced, the deep breathing. And there's one more thing happening. Oh, the vibration in the chest. When you say go around, the vibration, they say actually stimulates the chest area where the heart is. So they're meeting. So, yeah, for if you're having anxiety attack, they say do deep breathing, count 6 seconds or count 10 seconds. Okay, you can do that, but you might as well add the healing sound vibration. Ginagawa mo na yung breathing, dagdagan mo na, di ba? Walang mawawala eh. Di sulitin mo na yung ginagawa mo. So, deep breathing, then you can do go around the breathing exercises. And I guarantee you, I will sacrifice my medical license. It will work. Yeah. Not immediately, maybe, but it will take time. Depends how long it's been. Apparently, for medical disorders, for mental disorders, the longer it's been going on, that it's also going to take a little longer to heal. But you will heal. So a lot of times when you see relatives who are undergoing mental, you have them address it right away. Don't take your time. No? So be more empathic. Sympathetic. What's the right word? When you empathize with them, you gotta feel for the. You gotta be more feeling. Yeah?
Empathy.
Empathy. You gotta feel for. Be more sensitive to the people, especially the people you're talking to.
And that relates back to our topic for the past three episodes also, which is mindfulness. When you're also mindful, you're more aware of what's happening around you. And that's why it's so important about making sure you have the right environment, diba? And you have the right people that are supporting you. Like for you, your family, a very strong foundation of your support. And I'm sure, I mentioned earlier mentors that you've already brought up.
Marami kaming mentors, Sandra. We have so much inspirations in the life. Like your mom, she was such a big inspiration to me. And what else? Yeah.
It's very important, diba, Doc Nash? And then lastly, you also, you were parang brought up, or your whole life has been a life of service. And you also mentioned that you can't imagine the happiness, right, that you experienced coming out of, or for example, your experience in Haiti or in Caballo Island, diba po? So you've always talked about the servant leadership aspect of your.
Well, maybe I don't know if my whole life, but I know my parents, my mom, my dad have been serving their whole life. My uncles, yeah, which is what we're striving to be like, right? That's our goal. So, yeah, and the mic's about to fall off.
Okay. You also mentioned Doc Nash, one of our your tech, personal tech, in one of our pre-episode talks that leadership can be anybody. It's not something. Yeah.
From my experience, I think you mentioned earlier, being humility is such an important characteristic of a leader. I've had the experience of different types of leadership, and for me, some of the good ones, or also the most humble ones. I mean, there's a time to be strong, to appear strong, especially to soldiers. You cannot show weakness. You got to be in command. But at the same time, behind, they're a very humble leader, and they always have the best interest of their soldiers. They have always the best interest for their soldiers. Sometimes it's not being said, but if your soldiers feel it, and they'll do anything for you. You don't have to command respect. Respect will be given. So the leader for me is someone who is the first one there and last to leave. The leader is the one who does more work, and so he leads by example also. So, like as an officer, as I was a former officer, I've always the one thing that's always made me aware of is my shortcomings. Because I'm always, as an officer, as the leader, you're in public display, so you have to be aware of what you're doing. The slightest mistake, all eyes are on you. So as much as possible, yeah, you make mistakes. It's just what being human is, and but you have to make a decision. But minimize it. Be a leader, be an example to your people. If you want them to be like this, then you have to show it to them. Yeah. So, like, I'm also a vegetarian. So, that being said, if I tell my patients stop eating high cholesterol foods, eat more vegetables and fruits because it's good for you and it's proven scientifically, I can say it because that's what I do. So I walk the talk. Yeah. So, same with leadership, walk the talk and always humility. When we were in Haiti, dumating po yung chief of staff, si General Iriberry. And he had with him, but chief of staff kasi yung kanilang entourage are also generals. And General Galvez, who was our recent chief of staff, one of the recent ones, was also there. And doon namin nakita na kahit 2-star general, pag senior general, they're like little kids. So they're very, they're very humble. Parang, sir, parang mga plebo sila. It's an eye opener because, yeah, you're a leader, but you're always also under somebody, and you can't be a leader unless you're also a good follower, diba? And we had problems like this when you were in Haiti. Like sometimes, no matter how good of a leader you are, there's always going to be some resistance. It's just the way it is. So leadership's also being able to handle that. So a lot of times these people who are heading these resistance, pag sila naman yung ginawa mong, sige, ikaw, you do it. They don't perform well because they're not good followers. So being a good follower will also make you a good leader.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Doc Nash. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. But thank you for making time and sharing all your experience and wisdom with our listeners. So we'll go right straight to the next segment. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you again, Doc Nash.
very
Anybody you want to thank before we leave?
Okay na.
Okay
you.
na. All right.
I'll just tag my friends to watch the video. Okay.
Thank you so much, Doc Nash. Let's go straight to Living Wise with Tito Toby, Tita Marisa, and Tita Socorro.
Kalusugan, pangkalikasan, Gopalakas. Haribo ni Tagore, Haribo. Haribo ni Tagore, Haribo.
Welcome back to our show, and I'd like to thank my kuya for being a very engaging guest for today's episode, and a very fitting guest. Actually, he's the perfect resource speaker to speak about right environment, right association, and right attitude. But at this point, no, I'd like to welcome back Ate Chandra from our new segment and interview segment to make a few announcements, I think, about the SIF Care programs. Or if not, I can do it myself. Tech, can you flash the program posters of SIF Care? While waiting for that, I'd like to greet all of our viewers and listeners who have been listening kanina pa, hindi yata nabigyan ng pansin at that time na live si Doc Nash, no? Dahil, well, napakaganda ng discussion. Ayaw naman natin interrupt ang exchange nila ni Ate Chandra. But right now, I'd like to greet Vishnidas Felix, Mike Rex, Viva la Gopalakas. Nako, nag-iiba na yung tagline every week. Alexander Perunga says, good morning. Oh, good morning. Nitsu says, good morning, Gopalakas. Thank you for listening in. Francis Mina says, good morning. Alhen Orsolino. Kalki Jimenez said, shout out Doc Nash. Sorry, Kalki, hindi napansin yung comment mo kanina, but be sure that we will relay it to Doc Nash. Ivy Villamor says, salute po Doc Nash to all our Philippine soldiers. That's true. Ma'am Yaris or Ma'am Laris, I apologize if I butcher your name. Hello po, Sir Toby Tamayo from EAC Cavite. Camille Teodoro says, hello. Jiva Jimenez is tuned in also. Emily Guevara says, good morning. Rosalinda Lascano says, good morning from Okinawa, all the way from Okinawa. Doc Ted was listening also kanina. Okay, there's a lot of comments, so we can probably proceed to our next segment first, then I'll complete the rest of the greetings later. There is our program poster for SIF Care. They are having a video contest. The theme is Achieving Trash-Free Seas. So it's an artwork, video contest nga pala. And we're giving out cash prizes, and it's open to all ages. Submission details will be posted on the Gopalakas page and the SIF Care pages, so be sure to follow and subscribe to all of our social media pages. And here is another contest, songwriting or poem contest. Same theme, Achieving Trash-Free Seas. Cash prize is as indicated, open to all ages, and all entries must be submitted before October 10, 2020. So follow our page for updates on these programs and where to submit your entries. Thank you for that, Tech. Oh, may isa pa pala, tatlo. Daming contest. You can join all three, pero wag niyo naman masyado galingan. Bigyan niyo naman ng opportunity ang lahat ng ating mga entries, no? Zoom art contest for kids. The theme this time is Ocean of Life. This will happen September 26. Oh, that's today. 1 to 3 p.m. for kids aged 4 to 10. Cash prizes indicated. Right. All right. So join that program later at 1 p.m. Right now we'll proceed to our third segment, the good food. Tech, you can play our intro now.
A healthy community starts at home. As mothers ourselves, we know that food nurtures and heals the body. Here on The Good Food, our focus is simple: to inspire you to eat and live healthier. Pancakes are a staple breakfast food in a lot of homes. If you ever thought you needed eggs to make good pancakes, then you should definitely try this recipe. These fluffy pancakes are made with the simplest ingredients, is egg-free and vegan-friendly.
That's our new segment host, Lemira Tamayo. Our youngest segment host, and probably the youngest segment host in all of radio. But very, very good to start them young, no? Right now, I'd like to bring back to screen, if the internet permits it, my co-anchor. Actually, ako yung co-anchor, but our main anchor, DJ Gaur. DJ Gaur, nandiyan ka ba?
Ayan. Sana okay ba? Okay ba yung aking connection?
Okay na, okay.
So far.
Mm.
So anyway, pagpasensya niyo na wala ang ating sound, pero sana okay naman ang aking connection. So para sa ating mga viewers and listeners, no, please bear with us dahil sa internet connection ng ating mga kasamahan from La Union. So we'll try it maya-maya lang. So Attorney Jai, bago tayo ipasok sila Sir Toby, anong masasabi mo sa ating segment ng Good Food? Ayan.
Sorry to cut you there, Gaur, ha? Pero nag-prompt yata sila Tito Toby from La Union na pwede na sila pumasok. Subukan natin. Let's
Okay,
see
sige,
if-
ipasok muna natin sila. I-take natin yung opportunity, guys.
Mhm.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi
Ay,
po,
umaga sa inyong
magandang
dalawa.
araw.
So,
Welcome back.
Ay, medyo
Bago maputo
magulo ang
ulit.
signal natin ngayong umaga. So, sa inyo lahat. Okay,
Yes.
Ma'am Kaporo, let's go.
Yeah, first of
Diba?
all, yung announcement po dun
Alright.
sa kids contest ng competition. Correction po, dahil sa poor internet ng PLDT, it will be moved to October 10. So it's a postponement for that. Ngayon,
Okay.
i-share ko lang po for Wealth of Wisdom today, Right Environment and Right Association. Meron po akong classic story from China. Merong term na ginagamit sila, Mencius Mother 3 Moves. Naging kasabihan to dahil yung kwento po ni Mencius is a very well-known philosopher of China, very respected philosopher. And yung background po nito, ina-attribute nila dun sa ginawa nung nanay niya habang siya ay bata. Dahil nung umpisa
Okay.
po, sila ay nakatira sa malapit sa semeteryo. Okay? So yung environment po nakita nung mother ay laging merong funeral procession na dumadaan. And alam niyo po sa China, merong cultural tradition sila na pag merong patay na dumadaan ay meron silang mga criers, professional criers. Yung talagang kailangan umiyak ng malakas, no? So ang nadampot po ni Mencius bilang bata ay ganun, ginagaya niya at pati yung mga kaibigan niya, naghihiyawan sila, nag-iiyakan sila, ganun. Dahil they're following the example ng mga adults na dumadaan sa prosesyon ng mga patay. So sabi nung nanay, hindi yata maganda itong exposure ng anak ko, itong environment na ito, hindi maganda. So nilipat po niya yung anak niya sa isang town at malapit naman sila sa isang palengke, marketplace. At doon naman po ang mga kalaro ni Mencius at saka yung anak niya rin, si Mencius mismo, they started imitating yung mga tindera. Okay? Yung mga tindera po, bili-bili na kayo, dito po bili-bili, tapos yung mga tawad, ang mahal-mahal naman yan, haggling kasi sa Chinese, mahilig sila mag-negotiate ng price eh. So yun po ang naging laro rin ni Mencius, kumbaga at mga kaibigan niya. Talagang yun ang naging consciousness ng bata. Sabi nung nanay, hindi yata maganda yung natututunan ng anak ko sa ganitong environment. So nag-decide po siya, yung nanay, na lumipat na naman sila ng tirahan. At this time, lumipat sila sa isang university town. At doon nakakuha siya ng isang teacher. At dito daw nag-increase yung desire ni Mencius na mag-aral, magbasa ng mga libro. At yun nga naging tuloy-tuloy na yung kanyang development as a student, at saka hanggang naging philosopher po siya. So sinasabi po that it was due to the mother's move to actually situate, mailagay yung anak niya sa magandang environment at magandang sitwasyon, may magandang association. Kaya po naging maayos ang kinabukasan ng kanyang anak. So, right environment, right association, right attitude. Yun po ang i-share kong kwento ngayon para makita natin na yung mga nanay, mga tatay, yun din po ang pwedeng ibigay natin sa mga anak natin, the right
kahit papaano, meron tayong nakuha from our La Union team. Very important.
Yes.
Very short
Sobrang
and sweet,
importante nun.
pero equally relevant. Ngayon, meron na naman pong bumabate, continuing na lang ng dun sa mga comments natin kanina. Meron po bumati sa aking halaman na nasa likod. I'd like to inform our listeners and viewers that we practice what we teach. Thank you for noticing that.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Attorney Jai, pwede na tayo siguro mag-proceed na meron kasing video si Tita Marisa na isi-show sa atin. So, maybe we can get a lesson. So, we cue natin kay Tech para i-play niya. Then we can discuss
Sure.
on it a little bit. Yeah.
Sure.
Go, Tech.
Tommy?
Yes, come on in.
How you doing?
Good. 23rd and Broadway.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's go. How are you today?
Doing good. There's so much to do. So much to do. Whoa! Whoa! Watch out! Whoa, that was close.
What the hell? You almost hit me. Where did you let you drive? Hey, you mad? Give me late now. No.
How are you so calm and so friendly? This guy almost ruined your car and sent us to the hospital.
Well, I'll tell you something, man. People are like garbage trucks.
Really? Now, how's that?
Well, they run around with garbage, and they're full of disappointment, full of frustration, full of anger. And when their garbage piles up, they need a place to dump it on. And sometimes they'll dump it on you. But you know what? You don't take it personal. You just wave, smile, you wish them well, and you move on. Don't let their garbage spread to the people at work, at home, or on the streets. You love those who treat you right, and you pray for those who don't. See, now life is 10% of what you make it. The other 90 is how you take it.
So, yan, Attorney Jai. Napakagandang video nun. Tsaka napakagandang inspiration. But remember, para sa ating mga viewers and listeners, we don't own any credits dun sa video na yun. So, credits to the owner. So, we just want to share it sa ating mga viewers and listeners. And sana si Tita Marisa ang magpa-present dun. But dahil sa connection nila, we have Attorney Jai to explain it. So, palakpakan naman natin si Attorney Jai.
Huwag nang palakpak,
Thank you,
Gaur.
Attorney Jai.
Pero magaling ang video no. In all seriousness, I think it clearly highlights our topic for today, right attitude, specifically the right attitude, and specifically humility. Ngayon, ang sabi niya, 10% is life is 10% something, but 90% how you take it. So 10% is what is actually happening. 90% is how you take it. This 90% is controlled by the right attitude. No, I think Doc Nash is making a good point kanina na in times of calamities or when you're called to do something, even though you're not ready or you don't feel like you want to do it, you do it anyway, because this follows after you take on a personal commitment upon yourself. Like you will run a humble life. You will run a grateful life that translates into leadership, that translates into caring for your fellow man, that translates into being prayerful, and spreading around these good qualities of humility, gratitude, and helpfulness towards your fellow man and women. All inclusive tayo, of course.
Actually, meron akong may gusto rin akong i-share na quote galing naman sa isang philosopher na si Marcus Aurelius. Ewan ko kung tama yung pag-pronounce ko na kanyang apelyido. So, ayan. So, sabi niya, very little is needed to make a happy life. Sabi niya, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. So, I think this is also connected sa, yun nga, ating pinag-uusapan. No, meron ding isa dito na sabi niya, tumingin ka sa kalooban mo, ang kalooban mo ay ang pundasyon or yun ang foundation ng kabutihan. So, at ito ay lalabas kung inyong huhukayin. So, So, actually, meron din akong gusto kong i-share na, actually, narinig ko to sa teacher ko, na sabi niya, kapag maganda ang iyong association, automatic, di ba, mahahawa ka dun eh. So, I
Right.
think this is a good point din, Attorney Jai, no? Na we choose our association, our environment, enable na mas madali tayo magkaroon ng magandang attitude.
Right.
So,
Sa
yun
kabaliktarin,
lang. A little, sharing.
baliktarin ko lang yung sinabi mo, no, Gor. With the
Yeah.
right association, you can, maintain this good attitude. I agree. But also,
Yeah.
on the flip side, be the good association.
Yes.
So lead by example also. So itong
Yes.
you associate with yourself with people with similar values, shared values, but you also be an influencer in the truest sense of the term. Hindi yung tipong nagpipicture sa Instagram to influence people to buy brands. No.
Yeah.
The true influencer influences
Yes.
people with the right attitude and is the source of the right association. Tama ba, Gor?
Yes. Yes, tama yun. And I think, and it is the practical way or practical practice na magkaroon tayo ng magandang attitude and magandang association is by the practice of music meditation. No?
Exactly.
Yeah, dahil, sabi nga ni Doc Nash, kung ano man yung sitwasyon na pinagdadaanan natin, natatakot tayo o hindi natin alam kung anong pwedeng mangyari, we just need to take the shelter of healing sounds. Napakagandang point nun.
Meron pang medical explanation si Doc Nash, no?
Yung nga.
Breathing. These are,
Yes.
while we can say that they are preventive, and they're preventive practices for you to avoid, for you to maintain a good mental state and to prevent
Yes.
mental disorders, or at least help cope with them. There's actual science behind it. Hindi lang siya emotional, spiritual, or psychological. There's a physical component. So on that note, Gor, I think perfect segue to introduce our next segment.
Yes, of
Can we play our
Mm.
intro?
Okay, sige. Go.
Haribo, 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 Haribo.
Thank you, mga kaibigan. Hello po, ako si Manu, and this is Sita. Welcome to Music Meditation. Thank you for tuning in. Please stay with us as we will immerse ourselves once again in healing sounds.
Yes, please sit back and relax as we share with you some valuable insights that are very beneficial.
The practice of music meditation enables us to have a more spiritual way of seeing things, such as understanding that we are not our bodies and minds, but we have the responsibility to control the activities of the body and mind. It is good and important when we are able to step back from the mind and emotions, observe the thoughts, and make conscious choices on the things that we have control over, like our priorities in life, our words, how we react to things, our attitude, and so on. By doing so, can produce a better outcome for ourselves and everyone else around us. On the other hand, having the humility to understand that we have to accept that there are things, situations, people that we cannot control should give us a sense of peace that leads to a greater sense of purpose, happiness, and peace in our life. Through music meditation, one can realize this as one's heart and mind gradually become cleansed by the healing sound. One's inherent wisdom and care for others can manifest. Listen and rest your hearts and minds in these healing sounds.
Haribo,
go, Nitaigo, Haribo, Haribo, Nitaigo, 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 Nitaigo, Haribo.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. We encourage you to make music meditation a regular practice in your life, and you can experience its great benefits.
Please join us again next week.
As always, malupit na naman ang
Yes.
ating music meditation from Manu and his beautiful wife Sita. Thank you for contributing that video and contributing every week actually to this program. It's a perfect way to close everything that we are talking about. We go through the current, which is the news. We go through the scientific, which is the interview. we go through the physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, which is the onion segment. And finally, we close it out with a simple practice. Simple but proven practice, no? The music meditation.
Yes.
Hopefully, Gaur, available na rin to sa Spotify. Hindi ba?
Yes, oo naman. Kaya inaabangan natin yung Spotify na yan. Diba? Sir Manu, kung nandiyan ka pa. Yan. Sa ating mga viewers and listeners, mukhang kailangan na natin ng petition.
Find this petition, please. Get music meditation.
Joke lang.
Nagbe-welcome na yung viewers na. Pero very calm. Calm na welcome.
Yeah.
Kasi sobrang relaxed.
Music meditation, please. So, gano'n natin kung paano natin ina-encourage yung mga natin, yung mga viewers and listeners natin to practice this music meditation. And kung mapapansin nyo, yung topic natin today is also connected sa being mindful eh. Diba, Atty. Jai? Diba kasi tinuturo yung kanina, halimbawa dun sa video na pinakita rin ni Ma'am Marisa kanina, diba, it's because of being mindful, kaya niya nagawa yun. Kasi kung, diba, kasi kung hindi ka mindful dun, pwede kang magpadala dun sa sa situation na yun, diba? So because of your mindfulness situation, na-control mo kung ano yung dapat gawin. So it's being a good experience, no? And na-share natin dito sa ating mga viewers and listeners. So any shoutouts, Atty. Jai, bago tayo magtapos sa ating programa?
More than a shout out, actually, one of our viewers shared his experience and building on the story daw of Tita Marisa earlier. It's good fortune to have been able to find Gopalakas online during this community quarantine.
Wow, thank you very much.
When we have limited social interactions, to be able to share the realizations and sharings of the guests, hosts, and anchors on a weekly basis is indeed a good virtual environment, good association, fostering good attitude. Thank you for sharing that, Francis. And I couldn't agree more. Sa konting anecdote lang, Gaur, ayun, ito parang real life experience. Parang ginawa ni Sir Mano kanina sa music meditation, parang ginawa ko rin yun. I mean, the experience ko sa buhay, not nearly as heavy as Doc Nash and mga ibang tao na nakikinig sa atin. I'm sure a lot of people have had heavier experiences. But personally lang, sa pagkuha ng bar exam, yung mind mo sobrang lakas eh. So, pag kukuha ka ng exam, feeling mo yun that's your world. Kung bumagsak ka man, kung di mo man nagawa, sira ang mundo mo eh. So, when your perspective is like that, I can personally attest to practicing music meditation to sort of refocus, to relax, and to make you realize that it's not the be-all end-all. Kung ano man pinagdadaanan mo sa buhay ngayon, hopefully, makatulong sa iyo ang music meditation as it helped me, as it helped DJ Gaur, as it helped Matt, and as it helped our guest kanina, si Doc Nash.
Yes. So, syempre, maraming salamat sa mga viewers and listeners natin. And we are looking forward for more beautiful episodes like this sa mga susunod na linggo. So, we're inviting you guys, everyone, to tune in palagi every Saturday. And syempre, for more updates, like our page, and our Instagram. So, wag kayong mahiyang mag-comment. Halimbawa, nag-post.
Nawala ata si DJ Gaur.
If you have any ideas you want to share, please comment down sa ating mga social media sites. We'll make sure na papansinin natin yan at i-discuss natin yan.
Actually, Gaur, yung mga questions kanina, yung mga questions na finorward ko kay Doc Nash, honestly, pinasa yun na question sa akin. Yung very, very sensitive kasi ang topic. So, some of our viewers might feel like they don't want to ask the questions in public or be known. Dahil, ulitin ko, ang mental disorders or mental problems is not something that can be easily spoken about, especially in public, no? So we encourage all of our viewers and listeners, while we have these experts na inimbita namin, mga doktor yan, mga a very, very credentialed, nasa kanila lahat ng mga credentials sa kanilang mga practices. You can maximize our show by interacting with our social media pages, and we assure you na lahat ng interactions nyo with our page, any of our pages, will be completely anonymous. If you wish to remain anonymous, we will respect that. But we would also like to share with the rest of our listeners, not only yourself, bakit hindi nyo nalalaman kung ang question nyo ay nangyayari din pala sa mga ibang tao na nakikinig sa programa na ito. Hopefully, makatulong din tayo. Maybe give them the strength to ask the question that they might not have the strength to do. No, Gaur? Tama?
Yes. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for everyone.
Last shoutout na rin siguro, Gaur, sa mga nakikinig pala sa StreamYard. Pasensya na po at hindi ko kayo napansin magmula kanina pa.
Yung nanay ko pala nagpapa-shoutout. Good morning, Gopalakas. Harbol Mama, magandang umaga sa'yo.
Good morning, Nay Irene Evangelista.
Good
Miss
morning.
Rosalyn Valmonte also. Kanina pang alas 10, nag-tune in si Miss Rosalyn Valmonte. Ako ang binati niya, hindi ka, Gaur. Ako lang. Si Atemay was listening. Elenet in Kulangan was listening. Si Stan, good morning po. Thank you for tuning in and listening all this time. Miss Amanda Telesmo says good morning. Thank you for tuning in. And lastly, Nitz Lopez Cap says thank you, Doc Nash. God bless. We will be sure to forward your thankful message. Your message of thanks to Doc Nash later.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's all we have. Go and let's move up. Teka. Happy birthday pala sa aking bagong pamangkin.
Yan. Happy birthday.
My sister just
Welcome.
Welcome to this world. Hopefully, he can help you through it. At maybe ka makinig ka sa Gopalakas.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
All ages nga tayo, di ba? All inclusive. May babatiin ka pa ba, Gaur?
Wala naman na, syempre. Syempre, ating mga viewers and listeners, ano lang talaga yung puso ko na wala akong sawa na gusto magpasalamat sa kanila for tuning
in. Ako na magtatapos ng sentences ni DJ Gaur dahil...
And syempre sa ating mga viewers and listeners, thank you very much talaga. And syempre maraming salamat din sa ating tech. Yan, kay Tech Miguel. Maraming salamat.
Ako na naman magtatapos ng
And syempre sa iyo, Atty. Jai. Maraming salamat din.
Thank you, Gaur.
So everyone, maraming salamat sa inyo. I think we need to go now. Have a nice Saturday. And huwag niyo pakalimutan nating hashtag Make Gopalakas a Saturday Habit. So maraming salamat sa inyo. See you on Saturday. Gopalakas.
Thank you for listening.
Pangkalusugan, pangkalikasan, Gopalakas.
Pangkalusugan at pangkalikasan, samahan si Atty. Jai at DJ Gaur sa pagpapaunlad ng kalusugan sa katawan, isipan at espiritual. Go Palakas! Go Palakas! Pangkalusugan at pangkalikasan tuwing Sabado, 10 a.m. Philippine Time. Dito lang yan sa V81 Radio Worldwide. Walang kasing saya ang Paskong Pinoy. Dumaan man ang problema at pandemya, kayang-kayang lampasan. Basta't nagdadamayan at nagmamahalan.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Tuloy na tuloy pa rin ang Pasko dito sa V81 Radio Worldwide.
Ito ang paborito